Alright, everybody, before we get started and before we advance any further, just gotta say a huge shout out right now and a huge announcement because we have officially reached and passed our initial donation goal of $500 with a $55 donation coming in from the one and only Sound Defense, who we all know and love, an absolute legend of the channel. And yeah, who better to take us over that goal than TSD himself? And there we go, $500 officially reached. Thank you all so much to everybody who's chipped in, big or small or anything at all. And yeah, we're going to expand that goal now to a stretch goal of $750 for the remainder of the marathon. See if we're able to hit that. But thank you all so much to everybody. And to mark that, let's kick on to the next run of the marathon, which is going to be OriginalityAce coming back for his second run of the event. And we're going to see some trademark OriginalityAce action with Sonic Adventure 2 Alternate running Dark Story Alt Swap. Let's hand it right on over. And we're live.
Alright. We good? Alright. Hello everybody! My name is OriginalityAce. I'm a freelance artist, speedrunner, and streamer. Currently, I'm going to be doing a category for you for the SAEM marathon here that is very near and dear to my heart. It's a game called Sonic Adventure 2 Alternate. It's a little bit different from Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Unlike the normal characters that you would play with, there's a little bit of a different twist. Instead of playing with them, we play through the stages, stories, and category extensions utilizing the characters that are normally exclusive to the two-player mode. I personally whipped up a custom UI pack that we use for these categories, and we have a very special character select mod that replaces the characters when we load in. All of the characters get all of the character upgrades, and this category is played in the style of New Game Plus, so complete save files are allowed to use. And the category I'm going to be running is called Dark Alt Swap. SA2A is split into two major categories, Alt and Alt Swap. Alt means that the two-player characters match the alignments of their designated stories, and Alt Swap means they play in the opposite. For this one, I'm going to be playing through Dark Story with Amy Rose, Chow Walker, and Tikal. I'll try to go through as much as I can about the characters, how they play similarly and differently to the current cast, as well as also showing off many different tricks or skips that I can pull off here. So, we'll get ready to roll in 3, 2, 1, yo! So first level that we're going to be playing off with is Iron Gate with Chow Walker. Chow Walker is the second fastest mech in the entire game, only slower than Tails' alternate costume. He has, of course, however, the fastest Vulcan cannon firing rate. And of course, because this is SA2A and we play in New Game Plus, all the characters have the upgrades that the normal cast would normally have. So Chow Walker and other subsequent characters can also use the hover. Okay, I couldn't clip out of bounds there, that's unfortunate, but it's okay because we can still get through this stage in a really quick amount of time. So, in exchange for Chow Walker being as fast as he is and having a faster Vulcan cannon rate, he's a bit on the frail side, and he's a little slippery to control sometimes. He only goes down in about 4 hits, so you have to be careful when like running into enemies or hitting certain bosses. He has the least health out of all of the mech characters in the game. Nope, that's unfortunate. Didn't stick to the wall like I was hoping there, but that's alright because the checkpoint's literally right there. Yeah. Naturally, of course, like I mentioned, he can be a little slick to control, but he is still extremely fast compared to Tails and Eggman's default speed. And this makes most of the stages in Dark Alt Swap very quick for the mech characters specifically. There I had a 108 on my in-game time, but it's still pretty much par for the course on the other stuff. Oh, is my auto splitter working? Yeah, it should be. Oh, and my timer just reset. Oh, that's unfortunate.
This is Scorpion Troops Hotshot. Enemy movement has been detected. En route to intercept and destroy.
Alright, we'll just have to pick that up. Do you want me to just reset or just continue on?
This is Scorpion Troops Hotshot. The enemy is strong as expected. Request additional
I might as well carry on. We'll come back and talk about Amy very soon, when we get to her actual level. So, our hunting character, of course, is Tikal. She is the fastest out of all of the hunting characters in terms of ground speed and climb speed, but in exchange she has very short range for her punches, and her attacks are very quick. And of course there I just did a funny little trick called Small Run. You basically use those statues to run all the way up the wall, and it's faster than climbing. Oh, and there is our other piece. Here's a perfect example. You can see how quickly she climbs. And we already have our piece collected. Yeah. Playing with Tikal is a lot of fun. Because of her high speed, it makes hunting, really, it's much more high octane than playing it with not doing stuff like this with Knuckles or Rouge. But you do have to be a lot more accurate considering her hitbox is much tinier. Alright. Sand Ocean. So this is another level that will be beaten relatively quickly, because it's New Game Plus. We can take this Mystic Melody Shrine over here, and it warps us about 2/3 of the way through the level. We can quickly destroy these canisters by jumping up here, and then I'm going to see if I can pull off a trick that's called ETH Marvelous. See if I can get lucky with this. Okay, we didn't unfortunately get it, but that's still fine. Chow Walker gets a lot of distance from his hovers, to the point where we can just make it all the way over here anyways. Ideally, if I would have gotten the trick, I would have hit the corner of it and launched myself diagonally up towards the ending of the goal. But otherwise, you can still get through the stage in easily less than a minute's time, even if that doesn't happen. Okay, now we can talk about the speed characters in this one. Amy Rose. Amy Rose is a very technical character. Anybody who's probably played two-player with her knows how broken she can be when it comes to her special abilities. In SA2A, it's a tad bit on the different scope, though. So Amy is the slowest out of all four of the speed characters, and she has the shortest jump. In exchange, however, though, for this, she does get utilization of all of Sonic's power-ups, including the Light Dash, the Mystic Melody, of course the Flame Bracelet, the Bounce Bracelet, and also the Magic Hands, which come in handy for her. And Amy can't spin dash normally, so in order to pass underneath things, you would just somersault. However, even though Amy can't spin dash, holding down the B button isn't all for naught. Because of that, you can basically maintain an infinite state of storage. Storage is just a state that you can get when you pass underneath somersault barriers. It's how the game basically allows you to go underneath them before charging spin dashes. But since Amy isn't coded to have one, she can just perpetually enter the state until she either collides with an enemy or jumps off the ground. And that can be very useful in certain boss fights or just in navigating certain levels. Unfortunately, got gravity there when I wasn't trying to, but that's okay. Checkpoint's right here. Most of her movement tech comes from ring management through checkpoints and utilizing speed shoes, as well as, of course, very technical inputs to constantly do bounce accels to keep her speed up. A bounce accel basically is just a jump into a bounce and then homing attacking right out of it, which will give you a little bit more of a burst of ground speed rather than just running on the ground alone. And thankfully in the Dark Alt Swap, we only have to play as her through 4 levels, and 2 of them are very easy, able to be beaten in less than a minute as well. Out of all the 4 story categories for SA2A, Dark Alt Swap is the fastest. Because we had to have Tikal in 5 stages, Chow Walker in 5 stages, and Amy in 4, but It's practically almost like 2. Radical Highway and White Jungle are Amy's 2 longest levels. ILs with her are pretty interesting. We have had some people like experiment with different strats like loop speed physics, and it is possible to do some tricks that Sonic and Shadow can naturally do with Amy. Some of them just have to be done a little bit more cautiously, or with a little more maneuverability. Alright, so that's a 214. Had I not taken that death, that would have been a pretty decent time. Not too terrible. Ideally, anything underneath a sub 230 is really good for Radical Highway when it comes to Amy. So now we got Egg Quarters with Tikal. There's a piece that can normally spawn there. I just usually dig to check it just in case. So here's the instance where Tikal's running speed and climbing speed can actually come into play. However, that tiny hitbox can make it annoying at times to hit certain things. Try to take damage here. That backfired, but that's okay. So we take a death strat here in Green Room because there's a high likelihood that we'll get a piece that spawns here in the Green Room, which it did. Okay, so it's not there. Whoops. Gotta get past the Egg Beetle there. Alright, so it's not there. It means it is up top. Most likely. Right there. And our third piece is slowly swimming. If I'm not mistaken, that is also in either the blue room or the green room. Quickly grab that key, there we go. Hunting with Tikal is a lot of fun. Like I mentioned before, she's extremely quick. It's great for accuracy training if you're trying to get into the fundamentals of hunting for Sonic Adventure 2's vanilla gameplay. Hunting with Tikal will definitely help teach you to be very pinpoint accurate with your pieces, so you pretty much, you get good with her, you're guaranteed you're not going to miss any of your pieces when you're playing as Knuckles or Rouge. Alright, Lost Colony. This is another level that has a bit of a larger elevator section, about halfway or so through the level here. Normally in this level you have to get past these doors, but they only open at a set speed. So in order to make sure that we don't bonk on them, we have to do like 1 or 2 tap jumps and slow ourselves down ever so slightly. And an ideal time that we would want to aim for here is around about 2 minutes or just under 2 minutes for this character. Now you probably might have noticed that I'm pausing a lot of times when I'm jumping as Chao Walker, and the reason for that is because that's a part of Sonic Adventure 2 speedrun tech, which is called a pause hover jump. Basically, if you press the A button again to initiate hovering with the mech about a frame or 2 after you jump, then you'll actually gain much more height out of your jumps and be able to clear larger gaps. And in Chao Walker's case, it will allow you to take even larger shortcuts than you normally wouldn't be able to if you were playing with Tails or Eggman. This is a pretty long elevator section, of course, so we'll probably be here for a minute. This is always usually a good spot to take a second and just rest your hands, shake it off, do what you need to do. A lot of people will sometimes still lock onto the enemies to like keep their hands warm, but it's always a good time if you need to like stretch or get a drink or something. Yeah, Sonic Adventure 2 Alternate has been around for a really long time. The whole project started originally back in 2018, and it was very limited back then in terms of how it was developed. It's only been in the last few recent years that we've poured in a lot more tender love and care into making everything look as streamlined and clean as possible. And there we go, that's a 158. That is a really good time for this level for Chao Walker. Easy sub 2. Not a problem whatsoever. Alright, so we get 2 Chao Walker stages back to back. Lost Colony, and now we have Weapons Bed. This level is a ton of fun for Chao Walker, because the entire level is completely open, and we have the freedom to take massive shortcuts with the use of Chao Walker's hover. You could not do this if you were playing as Eggman. So we can make it all the way back here to this platform, just with a single hover. This level has had a lot of people actually run it in the IL like in IL stuff, because just how quick it actually is. Chowwalker's movement is extremely liberating. That's unfortunate. Just didn't get my jump out in the right amount of time there, but that's okay. We get to see me do it again. So we just thread the needle between those two jets. Weapons Bed is a very interesting level as well. In the vanilla game, it actually has a unique mechanic built to the ground. You would notice it more probably if you were playing as Eggman, but the battleships are specifically coded to basically give the mech characters the effects of speed shoes while they're running on them in certain locations. And for Chowwalker, that means he goes even faster than normal. And now for our last jump here, we just jump on top of these canisters and then do a quick hover over here and break these iron boxes to reach the goal in ideally less than a minute. Also, yes, back in the original days of SA2A, when it was first starting up, players basically had to hold the inputs for each individual character to get them to load. And then it eventually developed into having to just set them in the mod manager individually. But thankfully now, because of the version we have for SA2A, we have an updated version of this that just makes it very simple and easy to switch between alt and alt swap configurations by only just ticking a single setting option. And that was put together as a modification by our good friend Tenzit. Shoutouts to him, of course. He's helped out a lot with the SA2 community. And is a very experienced runner. So that was our first rival battle fight against Dark Chowwalker. You might have noticed he had a lot more health than normal, but we'll see him again, don't worry. Alright, so now we're in Security Hall. This is a interesting level. Security Hall's mechanics are based around hiding pieces in sets, and these sets can be in either red, yellow, or blue. Certain colors obviously are a little bit more optimal than others. Red, for example, has the least amount of locations that you can find pieces in, but if you're lucky, you'll actually get pieces like these. I personally like to roll with the blue safes. That's sort of about the middle ground where sets that can actually have these pieces. Unfortunately, though, that was a red frame piece. Most of the time, though, when we get a safe set that we don't have the color for, we just immediately take a quick death strat and try to reroll it, see if we can get something better. It's the best case scenario, rather than trying to go for a piece that might be in a color that we don't have and go all the way to the top and hit the switch and then come back down. Fortunately, we had another red safe piece there. Two-color container, that's at least a little bit better. Oh, is it right around here? Wait, now I know where this one's at. Yeah, there you are. Okay. And then finally our third piece is in the air. And that one should be right over here.
The fighting's over.
There's a lot of debate over which is better in terms of hunting. Some players will actively pick red safes for the least amount of pieces, just to swag on some of the other runners that go for the more optimal strats. So this is Flying Dog. And that first strat that we just did right there, that's called Up Dog. And no, I'm not joking. We actually call it that. It's an easy way to get a quick early hit in on Flying Dog. So now we go over here into this corner and we do this because when he flies out of bounds, he'll come back in bounds, and then he'll be right here for us to easily jump up and hit him again. And we can do this 3 times. And there we go. We got that last hit on Flying Dog. And the fight is done, just like that. So now we're going to go on ahead and move on to Amy's second stage, which is White Jungle. Normally, of course, you'd play this level with Shadow, but instead, we get Amy. We can do a quick little bounce excel right off that first dash pad at the beginning. It is possible to get sub 2 minute times with White Jungle for Amy, but it is pretty tricky. Especially because you have to employ a very specific strat. Funnily enough, as I mentioned before, Amy Rose normally does not have a spin dash, and that holds true, except for one exception. When passing underneath somersault barriers, if you're stuck underneath them for a certain amount of time while you're in your somersault state, Amy will actually come out the other side and charge a spin dash, like what you just seen just there. And that's actually used in a few different locations in this level for the most optimal movement. This right here actually is one of the spots where it's used. And normally she can't go into a spin dash, so once she gets out of that state, you can't go back into it again. So you gotta make the most of it when you have it. Some places are easier to set up spin dash storage for Amy than others, but of course, it all basically just boils down to making sure that your movement is pretty smooth and fluent with her, and not losing too much time. Oops. Should've put that dash pad there. There we go. We got a little bit of extra speed. And if you hold down the B button to storage into that spring, you'll actually get launched a little further than normal, so you won't actually be launched onto that spring, because that spring will waste you a few extra seconds. You do a quick little loop skip right over here just by jumping and clearing it. Amy hits the dash pad, of course, takes the vine, and this last section coming up is a little bit different from Shadow's. Because Amy doesn't have the same degree of jump height that Sonic and Shadow does, you normally have to rely on a bounce. But thankfully, a somersault jump gets you just at perfect level to homing attack directly onto the ground, finishing the stage with a 207. That's honestly a really good time, all things considered, for this level. Anything better than a 215 is fantastic. Now we have our second rival fight here against Metal Sonic. So, as you've probably seen from the first fight, not only do we get to play as the alternate characters, but we also have to fight the other alternate characters as well. All the bosses are, the character bosses are replaced with the opposing team's characters, so we end up having to fight Dark Chow Walker, Metal Sonic, and Chaos Zero. There he is, just sliding across the ground in the background there. And a recent addition to SA2A, just within the last year or so, is the cart mechanics. Normally you would do these stages with Tails or Rouge, but in SA2A, we actually use the alternate vehicles instead. We have Chow Car and Egg Robo. And depending on whether you're playing in Alt or Alt Swap, you'll load into those cart stages with that specific character. The Chow Car and Egg Robo both have different mechanics from how they would operate compared to Tails and Rouge's vehicles in Route 101 and Route 280. Namely, the Chow Car has much better handling and higher acceleration. It's one of the better cars in the game. Normally you would unlock these two vehicles by completing, if I believe it's completing all of Tails and Rouge's levels in the vanilla game. And you would unlock them for the kart racing mechanic, and they're not available anyplace else. But thanks to the character modding mechanics that we have for SA2A, we can actually use them in these levels. Also, Chow Walker not only has the best handling and better acceleration, but he's also extremely light. So a lot of these slopes, he'll get much more airtime off of them than Tails and Rouge's vehicles normally would. Quickly build up some speed here. And I'll quickly do a little boost off of this ramp where you'll get to see him, basically get to see a Chow and a car go airborne. Just like that, we've pretty much cleared that entire gap. Very funny. Also, you might have noticed too that I'm constantly swiveling back and forth, and there's a reason for that. The kart mechanics in SA2 have a very specific fundamental in where if you're only driving at normal speed and not drifting, your speed level will cap at a specific level, but when you're drifting, you're able to completely bypass this level and go significantly faster than you normally would. For Chow Car and Egg Robo, it does remain to be seen whether or not it is optimal, though it is for Tails and Rouge in this stage normally. But it is It's a lot of fun. It takes a little time getting used to at the very beginning if you're used to the cart mechanics of Rouge and Tails' cart compared to Chow's or Egg Robos. But it is still fairly easy to handle the vehicle, especially in some of these areas where there are larger turns and 90-degree angles. Alright, so we're coming up on the very end of the level here, so I'm going to save my boost till we get to the straightaway. We don't want to boost too early there, because if we try to boost at that section, we could actually launch ourselves over the edge or completely spin out by crashing back into the ground. But that's Route 280. Easily taken care of, and the little dude gets to chase down Tails. Now it's time for Skyrail, Amy's third level in the run. Skyrail is extremely short, even by Shadow standards. For Amy, I'm going to try to do a couple of things there. That's one of the tricks you can do right there. It's a barrel bounce. It's just a little micro optimization to save some time. And I unfortunately did not get the trick that I was hoping for there, but that's alright. So we'll just take it back up. It doesn't lose us too much time there. If you time the rail switch correctly and bounce, you can actually bounce directly onto the rail with a ton of speed. And we affectionately call that trick rail switch. It's basically just bounce to the B and then rail. Do a quick trick off of this wall here, and then of course we can just do a little wall run alongside a homing attack excel from the bounce onto that rail. And even with that little blunder, we still managed to get through the stage in less than a minute. Skyrail is personally one of my favorite levels that you normally play with Shadow, and playing it with both Amy or Metal Sonic, depending on the category that you pick, is a lot of fun. Say hello to Big, everybody. He gets a very special cameo here. Alright, so now we have one of Chow Walker's bosses where we have to fight against the Egg Golem. One of the big benefits for Chow Walker is that he also has a significantly faster Vulcan cannon firing rate, and that means we can take out the weak spots of this robot much faster than if we were playing as Eggman. Also, if you fall in the sand, look in the mech. He's spin! You can do this with every mech character at the very end. If you shoot your Vulcan cannon and keep it held down, you can spin the control stick and the characters in the mechs will constantly rotate. So now we go on to our final hunting level here, Vertical Mad Space. A lot of people are probably familiar with this level because of its infamous anti-gravity mechanics. Thankfully, in a speedrun, it's not too terrible. What we want to try to see if we can get here is a decent piece that's preferably at ground level or on something that we're not going to need to go too far to get. So we got that piece right there, Red Nail. We can quickly come up here and take this missile. Normally you would have to take the one that takes you to the gravity planet to start off, but because we have all the upgrades, we can do this without having to worry about that. Tikal, of course, has the iron gloves that Knuckles normally would have. And from here we get Red Light Balcony, so this is the top piece. From here we'll have to go all the way to the very top of the level. Mad Space is very vertical. It's the Dark Stories counterpart to a level called Meteor Herd. And a lot of people are probably familiar with, like, not only just the mechanics of this, but the obscurity based off of some of the hints. It gave a lot of people issues, but for us experienced players of Sonic Adventure 2, we know where a vast majority of all these pieces are just by the first hint of them alone. And then we get a last piece, a bunch of black containers at the base. That, of course, is a bottom level piece, so I'm going to try to see if I can get to that as quickly as I possibly can here. Outside this perimeter, there's a bunch of black boxes floating around out here, and our last piece is right there. Now we have Tikal's one and only boss fight, where we have to fight off against Chaos. Chaos plays, of course, as you'd expect him to. He has a very large punch. He's slower than the other hunting characters, but his hitbox is massive, so you have to take a little bit of extra caution when you're getting ready to attack him. Thankfully, he's not too much trouble and goes down in around about 15 seconds. Fight is pretty similar as it would be for the vanilla game as well. Now, for Tikal, the fighting is officially over because we only have mech stages and speed stages left. Going into the longest stage here for Cosmic Wall for Chow Walker. This stage is around about 3.5 or so minutes if you play this in the vanilla game. But thanks to Chow Walker's incredible hover speed and ground speed, we get to save an entire minute of time over the main cast when we do this level. And the way we do this is we clip out of bounds by using this tower right out here. There is a gap in between the collision that we can hover through. And then from there, we basically navigate our way out of bounds and can completely skip the on-rail sections and the other sections of the level. And basically just fly right to the goal ring. Now, I had to do a little drop there, and the reason for that is because there are 2 kill planes that are in this level that are set out of bounds. One of them is high, and the other one is low, because they're both determined based off of your environment. And wherever you are in the level will dictate, like, which one you actually hit. There is a gap that normally, if you were playing with Eggman or Tails, for example, you would just squeeze right through them with no trouble, but because Chow Walker flies so quickly, you can actually smack into the top kill plane, so we have to drop down for about 1.5 seconds there in order to make sure that we squeeze right through. Now we pretty much just hold this direction up until around about 2 minutes, 30 seconds, give or take, and eventually we'll see the final tunnel of the level that you would normally ride in the elevator section appear right there in the background. As you can see, there it is. We don't want to get too close to it though, because there is a camera trigger that will flip the camera around, so we'll be facing the front instead of the back of the mech. So we'll just stay a little bit off to the side. And Chow Walker has so much height that we'll completely go over the top of this thing. Goal ring should be coming up here in a few minutes. And there's the end of the tunnel, of course, so now we can actually safely drop down, do a couple of taps of our hover just to make sure that we land on this platform that just pops in bounds. And then we hit the goal ring with 2 minutes and 27 seconds. That is the last stage for Chow Walker in this specific category, but we have one last boss fight for him coming up right after this. And in my humble opinion, it's the hardest fight in all of SA2A. We have to face off against Dark Chow Walker. Now, I talked about Chow Walker, but I didn't exactly talk about Dark Chow. Dark Chow Walker is the slowest mech out of all of the mech characters, but he's also the beefiest. He goes down normally when you're playing as him in about 6 hits. On top of that, though, when you're fighting against him, he can be an absolute nightmare to fight against. Unlike Tails, Eggman, or Chow Walker, he shoots off his attacks in waves of 2 rather than waves of 1, and he has extreme control over his laser attack there, which is called the Dark Finish. And it's very easy, considering how weak Chow Walker is, to get comboed by him if you're not careful. Thankfully, though, we were able to take him down in less than 30 seconds, and now we get to move on to the final level for Amy Rose, Final Chase. Now, this level is relatively long, but thankfully, speedrunning has given us access to a wonderful little trick that we can do to completely skip all of this level. And this trick is called Fling. Basically, we have to jump off of this grind rail at a very specific time, and then swivel with skewed gravity out of bounds between 2 kill planes, and then maintain said skewed gravity while we're out, and it will take us directly to the goal ring in around about 30 to 40 seconds. Unfortunately, though, it can be a little tricky at times to maintain skewed gravity with Amy because of her lower aerial mobility. However, though, we do have the bounce bracelet as an immediate backup, just in case if something were to go awry with our jumps. And there we actually managed to get just the right level that we needed. And we're in a good spot in terms of our gravity. So now we pretty much just need to hold this angle for about another 10 to 15 seconds, give or take. And we'll eventually see the goal ring with the last platform of the level pop in bounds. And there it is. We can do a quick bounce just to make sure that we get a good angle at it, and drop in, finishing the stage in an in-game time of 37 seconds. Obviously it took a little longer because we had to do a couple of resets. This trick is doable in both Vanilla and in SA2A for both Amy and Metal Sonic. Arguably, I'd say it's a lot easier to do as Metal Sonic than it is to do as Amy. But having the bounce bracelet is very useful. Now we get to our final fight, where we have to face off against Metal Sonic the second time. Now this fight can be a bit on the tricky side. Normally we would do a homing attack chain if we were playing against Sonic or Shadow, but because Amy has a lower aerial mobility, we have to accommodate for that by doing a few bounces to make sure that we can actually hit Metal Sonic, and sometimes he'll even still just go out of bounds and we gotta wait for him to respawn again. Thankfully though, we can use the bounce bracelet to cheese in a few easy strats for him, or cheese in a few early hits. Oh dear. Just barely managed to save that. Another funny thing too is that normally if the enemies get too far away from you, they would trigger their attack, Sonic Wind or Chaos Spear. But because Metal Sonic isn't coded to have any direct special attacks, when he gets about so far, he just stops moving and just stands there and waits for you to basically run up and hit him. And that is time. So yeah, that's ultimately Sonic Adventure 2 Alternate Dark Alt Swap. It's a very fun category. I highly recommend this to anybody who's interested in trying out a modded form of Sonic Adventure 2. And yeah, this is a lot of fun. Sonic Adventure 2 Alternate has come a very long way from when it started, and it's still actively getting a lot of new things discovered by the day. I want to, of course, naturally say thank you to Sacer for having me come on to show off this wonderful category. It's near and dear to my heart. Sonic Adventure 2 Ultimate is pretty much the love child of a lot of an admiration for the characters of the two-player variety, and of course, learning all their unique fundamentals and how optimal that they can actually be in comparison to the main cast. And of course, if you're interested in checking out Sonic Adventure 2 Alternate, we do have a speedrun page that you can go to, speedrun.com/SA2A. We also have a public community Discord there. And now is a great time more than any to join the SA2A server or get into this category, because currently the Sonic Adventure 2 Alternate IL comp is in its first season, and we're about to start week 4 of the competition. Weeks 4 through 6 are going to be featuring the 3 characters that you see me play through in today's category: Amy Rose, Chao Walker, and Tikal. So if you want to get used to the mechanics and try them out for yourself, feel free to swing on by. We're always happy to offer up any help if anybody needs it. Sonic Adventure 2 Alternate has many guides and resources that we're still currently working on building. We do have a master guide and a quick start guide. It's super easy to get started, and we are always happy to see new faces. So yeah, that pretty much sums up everything that I've got here. Thank you again to Sacer Events for having me on here, and of course, hope you enjoyed continuing watching the rest of the Sonic Adventure era marathon. And of course, if you haven't already, feel free to potentially make a donation to help out that lovely charity. Tethys, why don't you tell us a little bit about that, if you'd be so kind?
Alright, yeah, thank you once again, Ace, for hopping on and showing off SA2A. It's been a real pleasure. And yeah, as Ace mentioned there, we are raising money for Extra Life Charity. Raised an incredible $502 so far. So thank you to everybody who's chipped in on that. And looking to see if we can push that all the way up to 750 by the end of the marathon. But yeah, correct. If you're looking to chip in with that, you can use the exclamation mark donate command in chat, and that will take you to the link to donate to Extra Life directly. And yeah, that's pretty much all that I've got to say as well. Thank you again, Ace. And coming up in a bit, we've got Vintage McNugget hopping on with Sonic Heroes Team Rose LTS, so that should be a fun time. And if you've got anything left to say, then by all means go ahead.
Well, that pretty much sums up everything for me. Thank you again for having me on.
All right, so don't go anywhere, gamers. We'll be back shortly. And yeah, see you in a bit.